What is going on, everyone? ArcheAge 3.0 has finally released a little bit over a week ago, and with that I kind of want to give you guys my first impressions of the gameplay and what I've seen so far throughout this 10 days that I've kind of played already. I wanted to wait a little bit longer than just the first 2 days to release this video, and I kind of wanted to do that because a lot of problems were plaguing the release, as I'm sure a lot of you know that. But because of that, I wasn't really able to play a lot. On top of that, I also had finals, so there was quite a bit to balance while playing ArcheAge 3.0. Now, I did start on one of the fresh start servers, as many of other people have done, but it made it really hard to play. And unfortunately, I'm making this video at the time of the 19th of December, and I'm still unable to play. The past day and a half, I've still been getting, white screens. I'm also getting some black screens, but those ones are pretty easy to bypass. And it's rather frustrating to see that all of the updates that XL Games and Cryy have been trying to push out have still led to some problems further down the road, 9-10 days out of the release, which is absolutely crazy. The release of it is frustrating. Everyone just wants to play the game. And honestly, if it wasn't plagued by these issues, I think a lot more people would be playing the game. Unfortunately, it happened, and I don't want to focus this video on that, like I said. So I kind of want to just get into the first impressions of what I have experienced so far with ArcheAge 3.0. Just a little bit of a side note, I am playing on the Vengeance server, and I am also a patron, so I'm trying to get the benefits, obviously, with the subscription, and I didn't go with Reckoning because I wanted to play the game sooner than later. So I kind of just said, fuck it, let's just go on the Vengeance server. Let's try to play earlier than trying to play with a bunch of people on Reckoning. And unfortunately, there's been times where Vengeance has been in queues and Reckoning hasn't. There's a bunch of mishmash going on. So that's the little bit of a side note I want to throw out. So far, I am in the guild with Cryy. I'm sure a lot of you do know. He is he's a pretty large YouTuber, great friend, amazing guy, great bunch of people that I'm playing with so far. Unfortunately, like I said, with the school, I haven't been able to do a lot with the guild as of right now. I'm trying to still get to 50 before I can start putting a lot of my efforts in other places than just leveling. But I do still level with some of the guys once I find them out in the world. We're not the biggest guild, but we are doing a pretty good job of leveling ourselves up and really kind of making ourselves somewhat of a no-name around the world of ArcheAge. Now that ArcheAge 3.0 is finally here, we get Warborn and the Dwarves. I went with the Warborn for my new character level up. I am a Warborn Paladin. At the time of the making of this video, I'm almost level 43, but like I said earlier, the past 2 days have been really hard for me to play, so I'm kind of stuck at 43 until I'm able to play. But honestly, it's not really bugging me out too much because I kind of want to take my time and have fun with it and not really rush myself too much so that I get bored towards the end of max level. For those who have not tried the Warborn starting zone, I do want to touch on the basis of how I think the gameplay for Warborn start. The starting zone for Warborns, in my opinion, it's very bland. The environments and the theme of it is just bland. It's very desert-like. So generally in games, when you have a desert-like or a sand-like type of environment or a zone, it's typically open world. It may be larger and more spread out, so there's not as many buildings or general zones to hang out with people in, because it's just really open world, not a whole lot going on, and that's what I don't really like about the Warborn starting zone. Of course, you get the larger hubs once in a while, but that only comes every so often until you get to the next leveling zone. So because of that, it wasn't really much of a big deal because the leveling does go very, very quick for the new races. So I didn't really complain too much, but I would have enjoyed it probably more if it was a bit more upbringing, uplifting, more positive feeling, but that's just that. Also, a lot of the problems that were not the problems of trying to enter into the world, there were a little bit of some of those as well. I'm not sure if other people experienced them, but I did experience a lot of flickering with 3.0. I never had any flickering problems with the older versions of ArcheAge, and I even played ArcheAge about 2 months ago after I heard about the news of the 3.0 servers. So I was kind of curious as to why this was happening. I really wasn't sure, looked it up, had no answer for that, and it was kind of frustrating to have it going on in the beginning, but it kind of became second nature almost. You know, it was happening so often that I kind of was just I was bypassing it. I didn't even see it at that point, but it is something that's frustrating. I am getting a new monitor for Christmas, so I'm hoping that maybe it's the monitor, possibly, but we'll see about that. Overall, the game is, gameplay-wise, it's ArcheAge. ArcheAge, we all know that it has very strong mechanics, great systems, and a lot of content to offer. Yet, sometimes, publishers can be a little bit greedy, like Cryy, and kind of ruin the gameplay experience because of the outer and the exterior things that go on with, you know, marketing and trying to make money with the game. Now, there's also problems with the developer this time around, which is also another unfortunate case, but it is something that we have to deal with. And although it's something that no one wants to deal with, and it has actually probably turned a good amount of heads off of the game, it's something that we're still having to live with, and it's reality. So, what has changed with the 3.0 update? Well, mechanic-wise, generally, the game has essentially stayed the same, along with a lot of the systems. You know, ArcheAge is still ArcheAge. It only introduced a couple of new races, some new mounts, some new zones, things like that to kind of keep the experience fresh and new. But there are still a couple of things, if you're trying to play this game, that you're probably going to be more aware about than playing it before or playing on a legacy server. So if you're playing on a fresh start server, there's a couple of things that I have in mind that you're probably going to want to be aware about. First off are the 2 new zones where you're able to put down houses. One is north of Hasla, it is in Harania, and the other one is located a little bit west of Hellswamp in Nuwa. So those are the Rokala Mountains, I believe. Those are actually very, very important because those zones you're actually able to craft some trade packs and some specialty packs, and that's going to improve going overland and overseas with some trade packs. So if you're someone who enjoys doing trade packs and making money that way, this is going to be very important for you to utilize once you start playing ArcheAge. Also, with the Revelation update comes the introduction of the Abyssal skills. These are very, very important as there's something to progress towards once you eventually reach max level. Now, I'm not going to go into how you're able to obtain getting your Abyssal skills, but that's a topic for a separate video where you can go in a little bit more in depth into how you can obtain your Abyssal skill according to which tree that you have chose at max level. There's also a couple of other things like the upgrading of the family system, the introduction of the community centers, and how those kind of delegate how you can get some equipment and some rewards depending on which tier it is. If it's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and obviously being the highest one, you get a little bit more. And there's tons of other things that you can find while you're exploring out in the world. If there's something that I should tell some new players if you're watching this video, is please do professions. Professions revolve heavily around this game. You know, if you do not progress your professions or crafting, then you're kind of at a loss, and it's a big means for making money throughout ArcheAge. Alright, that's gonna do it for me. All in all, so far, I'm having a good time in ArcheAge. I'm having a lot of fun time while I'm playing the game, but unfortunately, I'm not always playing the game. So with that being said, I would like to know what you guys think of ArcheAge 3.0 so far. If you're playing a fresh start server, if you're playing a legacy server. I haven't played a legacy server yet on 3.0, so if you're doing that, let me know how that's going. Nonetheless, everything's all good and dandy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.